Hey, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to episode 28 of the Giant Zone. You got your co-host, of course, Steve the Banker.
Good evening.
And then you've got yours truly, Fly Guy Carl. And we are joined tonight with a special guest and one of our better followers, our longer followers here, and a great supporter of the show, Joe Clark. So, Joe, welcome to the show. Glad to finally have you on, buddy.
Yeah, guys, thanks so much for having me. I've been really looking forward to this. And it's funny because I was supposed to be on I think like around a month ago. We'd spent like 2 months going back and forth a little bit. And we both had to cancel. You guys had to cancel and I had to cancel. We had to postpone. And it was like, but I was so looking forward to this. And so I'm just really happy to be here. I'm a huge fan of this show. Like we were just discussing off screen, I love the content that you guys bring, the guests that you have on. And you guys have covered like really everything very fully or fulsome like this off season. And so it's been great to help. You guys have done a great job of getting fans like myself through the long off season. So I'm just happy to be able to contribute to it. And it's going to be on a pretty important day. We've got, final cuts coming tomorrow. So.
Excellent. We appreciate that, Joe. That means a lot to us. And what you just said is kind of why we do this. So thank you for that.
And one last thing real quick too, before we go into additional stuff, your intro song. I have to give a shout out to your intro song. I love it. And I'm 51 years old. I grew up in the 1980s. It brings me back to Inside the NFL in the 1980s on HBO with Len Dawson and Nick Bonacon. It's got that, got to get out on the field, feel to it, and it hits someone. So I love it, man. It gets me pumped up.
Kudos to Steve. He found that one. So
yeah,
I love it.
He owns that.
Appreciate that. We actually put a lot of thought into it. We thought it was kind of like a mashup between exactly like you said, like the good old days of NFL intros and almost Game of Thronesy in a way. Like it was.
Yeah, I love it, man.
If that doesn't get you pumped up, then you don't have a pulse.
So. Yeah, as a kid from the 80s, like I hear the intro. It's only like 10 seconds, but I envision like Lawrence Taylor slow motion replay. Going to smack Joe Theismann or whatever. So I love it, man. It's perfect.
Awesome.
So, Joe, give us a little background about yourself. How'd you become a Giant fan? How long and what you enjoy?
How I became a Giant fan. One word answer, John. I have one of my oldest and best friends. His name is John. Won't use his last name for the purposes of anonymity. We've known each other since we were like 8 years old. And it was around 10 years old, 11 years old, or 10, when I was like, you know what? I need to start paying attention to sports. If I want to start conversing with other kids knowledgeably about sports, because that's what everyone talks about, I need to start following sports. I need teams to pick. So I'm a Giants fan myself. I'm also a Mets fan. I think you are too, Carl. Yeah. And I'm an Islanders fan and a Nets fan.
Ooh,
and I hear you. Hey, I'm the guest. Be nice. But when it came to I made my decision pretty much with all my teams. When it came to the Giants, I just couldn't tell Giants, Jets, or even the Cowboys. I knew friends who were like fans of all of them, but I was throwing the football around when I was a kid, like when I was 10 with John. I'm like, who should I be a fan? What team should I root for? And John was like, hey, stupid, be a Giants fan. He had this really cool Lawrence Taylor shirt at the time. We're talking like 1982 here. It said something like Sir Lawrence and Company or something like that. And he had like 10 of the Giants defensive players on there. It was a really cool shirt. I'm like, you know what? I'm a Giants fan. That's it. So I wish I could say it was sexier than that, but I have romanticized it in my head. Like I do think it's a good little story, at least for me. So it's personal,
And what about game day? Do you have any traditions that you follow on game day?
Yes, my tradition now is, especially like the past 10 years since they have not been very good, is honestly games during like Sunday afternoons. I DVR them and I watch them later on at night when I can have some peace and I run all the errands, done stuff with my family, and I just want to be able to sit down and watch the game because I can't. If I'm watching the game, I can't do anything else. I want to sit down and watch the game in peace. So I will DVR. That's why I love. Even though the Giants have been horrible in prime time, I love Sunday night, Thursday night, Monday night games. But I'll, just pretty much I'll DVR it, watch it later on in peace, and I'll, spend out some time, getting angry at the TV. But in terms of like cooking anything, barbecuing, nah, not really.
And very quickly, so you do a podcast as well. Why don't you give us a little bit of information about your podcast as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I've been podcasting for a little over a year. The podcast is called, and you can find us on Twitter or YouTube, and we podcast. You can find our show like on Podbean, Spotify, all different formats. Toilets to Titles. Okay, it's Toilets like going to the bathroom, toilets to titles. And it's really fantasy-based, fantasy football-based, and the gist is giving you advice on how to get your fantasy teams to go from being in the toilet to winning titles. And we've really grown a lot over the past year. I collaborate with literally 16 other guys now, and they all really know their stuff. These guys, a lot of, they're really big into fantasy football, give a lot of good advice, all different types of advice. We've really grown our NCAA college football content a lot too. There are two new guys that have joined us recently named Nino and Jared, who have a great Friday night show. Me, myself, I'm more the NFL guy. I play fantasy football, but I don't necessarily want to podcast about it. It's not my strength anyway. And but I love talking football. And I did start like a Giants show over there as well. And but I've only done honestly, I started early this year, and I've only done 5 episodes, just being busy and then wanting to take off a little bit in the summer. But I'm kind of like the NFL guy over there. That's my focus. So at Toilets to Titles, you can find us on Twitter, and also that's the name. Obviously, search for us on YouTube. But I really love doing it with a great bunch of guys.
Good stuff. I just had my draft last week. I wish I would have known about that. I would have tuned in earlier.
Yeah, I've got 3 other drafts to go. So they're doing a mock draft tonight, as a matter of fact. And anyone who goes in has a chance to be part of the mock draft. So it's at 8:30 or 9 o'clock or something like that.
It sounds good, Joe. And good luck with that. I really hope that goes well for
you. Thank you.
So what we're going to do tonight, folks, is we're going to change up our normal format. Instead of Joe asking us questions and then we discuss them. With Cutdown Day coming tomorrow, we thought it'd be fun to kind of go through each position group and then discuss who we think stays and who we think goes, and just try to get into the whole Cutdown Day thing. And I don't mean to make that sound fun, because those are guys losing their jobs and those are families. So, we're not heartless about it, but just we're all Giant fans and we just want to follow what we think the roster is going to be. So, given that, and again, for anybody listening for the first time or watching for the first time, if you watch us on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you download our podcast, and we're available on all major download platforms. Sorry, guys. Please give us a 5-star rating and ignore my speech impediment tonight. And we really appreciate that, because that just helps us to continue to bring you content. So it means a lot to us. We really appreciate all the support. So let's get into this, because this is an exciting show. We're all looking forward to it. So, guys, what I'll do is I'll go through the position group. I'll name the position group. I'll name the players quickly, and then we can just go into them quickly, who we think stays and who we think goes, if you're all right with that. All right?
Let's do it.
When you say you're going to read them, just for the listeners and viewers, what are you reading, just so they know?
So I am reading the Our Lads updated depth chart, which is up to the minute. So I'll go off of that. So that actually also already has today's cuts removed. And for anybody that's not aware, the Giants today waived Eric Smith, a guard, Elijah Griffin, a cornerback, and he had a terrible pass interference call yesterday. Travarius Tavonian, a wide receiver. Ryan Santoso, the kicker, who's probably going to wind up back in Carolina. And also Yusef Corker, which I was surprised by that released a little bit. So I'm sorry, Steve?
Who's the young safety?
Yeah,
undrafted.
That got me a little bit today. And also Josh Rivas, a guard. So those are today's cuts so far. There's more coming tomorrow, as we all know. So let's kind of jump right in here, guys. So let's start with the wide receivers. So right now on the roster, you have Kenny Golladay, David Sills, Darius Slayton, Jalen Moore, Kadarius Toney, C.J. Board, Alex Bachman, Sterling Shepard, Wendell Robinson, and Richie James. So Steve, why don't you start us off here?
So, and I think one of the interesting things is it's maybe half the position groups, but I think what's going to be fun about this is it's not. I think we're also going to have differences. I would think it's going to be fun where some of us are going to say, like wide receiver, for example, I think they're going to keep 7. I've seen some people on Twitter say 8. I've seen some people say 6. I think it comes down to we all agree special teams, right? And who do you keep, and do they contribute? What is your special teams going to look like? Is it going to be more linebackers, more running backs? Okay. I think there's going to be 7. I see Kenny Golladay. Unfortunately, it is what it is. You can't cut him. Wandale, Shep, Kadarius Toney. And here's where it gets interesting for me. I see Richie James because of what he does on specials. He's our return guy on punt returns, especially. David Sills, I think it's finally David's time. He's proven. And I actually like Alex Bachman. Yeah. The guys that I think are getting cut in particular, the surprise is Slayton. But I say it's a surprise because it's looking more and more like the talk today we all saw is hopefully he's going to get traded. If he doesn't, we save 2.5 million roughly. He's got a salary just shy of 2.6. I think there's about 100 and change of dead money there. So it's a no-brainer because he doesn't play specials. He's never been the same since his rookie year. And I'll finish with this because I think this is going to be a common theme. Dable always says, and even has Wink and some of the other coaches saying over and over in their pressers when a certain reporter may ask a question, they like to throw back smart, tough, dependable. What I love about that being his consistent saying is I think it gives him currency. It validates, and we are now for the first time really going to see how it validates some of the cuts. So even if there's a surprise, one of us picks today, one of what we see tomorrow, I think he'll be able to lean on that and say, listen, smart, did he make too many mistakes? Slayton makes a lot of mistakes. Dependable, well, the guy's always injured. Ever since after that first really good rookie year, he's always been injured. So if the excuse is, well, he wasn't the same because he's been injured, well, he was injured. So and mistake prone. So I those are the 7 receivers I see us keeping. And I just wanted to throw that out. There's my methodology. I think it goes back to what Dable's been saying about smart, tough, dependable.
Joe, why don't you attack the wide receivers room there?
Yeah, I actually have 7 as well, Steve. And I think I think most teams roll in the season with 6 wide receivers, I think. But I've got 7. And I actually, when I was formulating my list last night, I think I originally had 8. Just given how injury prone these receivers have proven to be, I'm like, man, they may need to do that. But I had a feeling that, do you want me to give my list of who I've got here, or
however you want to do it?
Okay, so all right, let me get off. I'll rattle off the names and then I'll go into a little detail here. So Sterling Shepard, definitely, and it's so good to see him back. I'm so glad to see when he's on the field, he's so darn dependable. I love the guy, such a professional. So Sterling Shepard, Wandale Robinson, Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay. I do have Darius Slayton for now. I don't think he's going to be cut. I do think he's going to be traded. I don't think he's going to be cut. I'll get to that in a second. Alex Bachman and Richie James. Now, I think Bachman and Sills are kind of interchangeable. I could see being Sills because he seems to have had a really good longer rapport with Daniel Jones, and that's important to me. But I know Alex Bachman also turned a lot of heads this season too. So I'm really unsure why, but I chose Bachman over Sills. I do agree. I think Richie James is going to be there. He's been a stud this preseason. He may only be a preseason stud, but he's been a stud. And yes, kick returner. So you need that. The thing with Darius Slayton is, I hear you. I understand people's frustration with him, but besides Golladay, who's also injury prone himself, who else can play the outside? Especially now that Colin Johnson, who else can play the X? Now that Colin Johnson is gone. He's gone for the season with an injury. And not that he was a proven commodity, but he was someone that had the size to play outside. The other guys are kind of like on the small side. Yes, Sterling Shepard has played on the outside before, and he's been effective actually doing that, but he's not a big guy. Same thing with Kadarius Toney, that he could probably play on the outside, at least somewhat. But you look at Golladay and Slayton, and really they're the only 2 guys who are like consistently playing on the outside. So, but I'm sure Slayton's probably going to be traded, even if it's like for a 7th round pick. And if Slayton is traded, then I'm going to put David Sills on there along with Richie James and Alex Bachman. So I don't think he's going to be cut like a lot of people think, or that's why I don't think he's going to be cut. Because I think he does have some value. He does have some value.
I agree with you guys. I think 7 is a solid number there. And again, my 7 would be Golladay, Sills, Kadarius Toney, Bachman, Shepard, Robinson, and Richie as well. So that leaves out Slayton, Jalen Moore, and CJ Board. And I feel bad about CJ Board because he works hard. He's a really hard worker. I just, given the talent and the depth at the position, I just don't think it's a fit. Now, do I think maybe he's practice squad? Yeah, I think there's a possibility he winds up on the practice squad. But he's actually shown well. I would not be surprised if he got picked up somewhere. So, but again, those are my picks. I could see them trying to probably bring Board back only because I don't expect a full season out of Kadarius Toney. So you may need to replace him, and you may need that body there. So that's why I think somebody's going to get stashed. But I think at this point they're going to try to take anything they can get for Darius Slayton. Just whatever, an extra draft pick. These guys like draft picks. One draft pick, whether it's a 6 or 7 round, it doesn't matter to these guys. They'll take it. So I'm in agreement with you on the wide receiver one.
Just real quick, CJ Board, don't be surprised. And that's a good point. I think he does have value. I do want to move on from him. I want more better talent than CJ Board. And I think Bachman and Sills have more, and maybe it's just because they haven't played in NFL games and we just don't know. But I think there's more potential there. And that's kind of what I want. We know what we're getting from CJ Board. And he really is like a 6 wide receiver. I just want guys, I think, with higher level talent there potentially. But CJ Board, I think, could wind up being like this year's Benny Fowler. I don't know if you remember 2019 Daniel Jones rookie year. Every wide receiver, everyone was getting injured. Everyone. And Benny Fowler, I think, was brought back like 3 times that year because he was available and he knew the system. So CJ Board could be back a few times due to the injuries we're bound to get.
All right, so let's hit the offensive line. Your left tackles are Andrew Thomas, Debra Hamilton, and I have trouble with this name, Roy Mabatka. I think Thomas and Hamilton stay. I think Mabatka's in trouble because I don't really know that enough about him. Then we'll stay on the left side. You got Shane Lemieux, Joshua Zudu, and also Max Garcia. So let's focus right now on the left side of the line, guys. What do you think there? Go ahead, Joe. Why don't you start on this one?
Oh, geez, on the left side of the line?
Yes, sir.
Well, I do have in my list, this is a lot. I think the teams normally probably ride with like 8 players. I've got 9 offensive linemen because, again, we're dealing with quite a few injuries here. And guys who are like Izudu, who's not really like, he's injured, but he's expected to be back soon. I think same thing with Lemieux. I've got Andrew Thomas. And I've got, I've got Shane Lemieux. And so I believe he was supposed to be left guard, I believe, right? And then next to Andrew Thomas. And then I've got Izudu, who I believe could be competing for that left spot as well. And if you're just talking strictly the left side, so Andrew Thomas, Shane Lemieux, Izudu, I believe Izudu was being primed to compete with Lemieux for that left guard position. And then
Max Garcia?
Yeah, is he left guard or right guard?
Left.
Is he left guard? Then I have Garcia on my list. I do have him on my list as being he's a vet, and they need some a veteran. They need someone there on that line. So I do have Garcia on my list.
Steve?
Yeah, if we're just looking at the left side, Andrew Thomas, Shane Lemieux, Izudu, I have making the team. And Betka is the guy that OCU and Yora found. He's actually been exciting. The guy has literally only put on pads like 30 times total between all the practices and whatever. I mean, less than that. So he's going to be, I'm sure he's going to be shelved on the practice squad. He's that international player exemption, probably like Plattsburgh was. And then Max Garcia has been flexed. So he's been playing. In fact, he played center last time we saw him. So he was signed as a guy kind of like Feliciano, actually, who could play center or guard.
Right.
That obviously, we didn't see a lot of him in the first few weeks of summer camp, but it was good to finally see him playing in the preseason. So yeah, unfortunately, we had no choice. But
let me throw this out there to both of you. Everybody's penciling in Shane Lemieux, and I understand that. It didn't sound like he's close to coming back. Chance he starts on the IL.
It depends. Like I'm me myself, and this is sort of my concern. Where making this list just for myself, I'm unsure of Lemieux's status. Like it doesn't sound like he's going to be ready game 1.
Right.
But is it going to be 2? Is it going to be injured long enough where they can put him on the IR for a few weeks and free up a spot for someone else? But I'm just going into the
That's the
assumption that,
question.
yeah, so I'm just unsure. That's why I've got 9 offensive linemen lined over here, just in case.
Right.
I do think Lemieux is going to be, the plan is for him to be on the team, and he's not going to be cut. So whether he starts off in the IR, I don't know, but I just got him in the Giants' plans here for this season.
Steve?
Yeah, that's been kind of some of the whisper talk this past week. Is he going to be on the IR? Listen, Nick Gates, Matt Pert are on the PUP. They can't come back. You're forced to sit out the first 4 games if you're on the PUP. So I think it's a no-brainer. I think they're going to keep Lemieux on the team. It's just a question of where. And I think that gets to something we're probably going to talk about quite a bit as we go through the roster is, what about guys they pick off that are cut from other teams?
Right.
You know? So,
Right.
Anyway.
All right, so then the centers right now that they have listed are John Feliciano and Jamil Douglas. I think they both stick. Would you guys both agree with that?
I don't think Douglas is going to be around.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be either. I didn't even know that Max Garcia was being flexed at center. This is really why I was hoping they'd get Luke Fortner in the back end of the 3rd round, this past draft center out of Kentucky. So I wanted a guy who knew how to play center. So we've got John Feliciano, who's definitely going to be the starting center. And Max Garcia, I already have on my list just as a vet guard. And I do think you need that vet experience because there is a lot of youth on this line here. And I also had Ben Bredesen, who I believe was played last year. And he's not great or anything, but they were playing him at center out of need. He was taking snaps at center out of need. Because what are we on our 6th center? At least when Feliciano went down, I think we're on a 6th center at some point, I believe. Yeah. So I could see him being like a guard center, back up there.
Steve?
Yeah, Bredesen looked great. Jamil Douglas was an abomination, I thought. He was like a block of Swiss cheese. They couldn't.
You're right.
Every time he was playing.
I forgot that. You're exactly right.
Get him the hell out of there.
Yeah.
So him and Max Garcia have almost identical contracts. They're within like $50,000 or $100,000 of each other. They're both making literally about $1,005,000 or something like that. So for me, it's a toss-up. I'd rather get rid of Jamil Douglas, keep Garcia, who has been an excellent player in the league. I mean, he went to playoffs. He was never a Pro Bowler per se, but I mean, he's reliable. He's buried on the depth chart a little bit. I think that was a surprise for all of us as fans when the summer camp started. We think, oh, Max Garcia, he's going to be in the mix for a starting job. No, he was buried. But I think we're going to have a mixture, guys, of like 5 or 6 interior linemen and let the cream rise to the top, or who's healthy. I think Feliciano, you're right, is our starter. Glowinski and Lemieux are our starting guards if healthy, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like next man up, and I think Bredesen has had a nice bounce back, which goes to a comment I made on Twitter recently, which is I love what this coaching staff is doing. This offensive line coach we got, they seem to be, you never would have seen this in the past. Yes, it's partly talent, but it's also, they're being taught to keep it simple, to do their sets simple. Their blocking techniques, we know for a fact, are different than the prior couple of offensive line coaches. Remember, we had like 3 in 2 years. Yeah. Not to mention Joe Judge kind of coached the O-line at times too. So I like what I see. I'm excited about Izudu when that kid comes back. I like how Bredesen's bounced back and shown us something when he's been forced to play. Jamil Douglas and Max Garcia, I think it's Max Garcia, but I could be wrong.
I definitely think that they've got Joe Shane has got his eyes on the waivers for center. That's definitely, I think, the position where he's looking for, if not a starter, I highly doubt a starter will be Feliciano probably, even though I'm not crazy about Feliciano, to be honest with you. But he's got experience, but I think they're going to look for a guy who can compete with Feliciano, or just like at least a solid backup. But yeah, when you're judging, say, Max Garcia and like Jamil Douglas, like Jamil Douglas, I don't think he's shown enough. Like, I don't think there's really any upside there, to be honest with you, just from what we've seen. And Garcia may not be all that great, but being a veteran and understanding how offenses work, and it counts for a lot when when your competition is a younger guy who hasn't really done anything.
And I have to apologize. I forgot about how bad Jamil Douglas was when he played. So that's an oversight on my part. I apologize for that.
Yeah, it happens.
But I'll tell you this, to the point you guys both made, I think Shane's going to be keeping his eyes open for any offensive lineman, not just center. But let's let's go on the right side quickly. So Glowinski, obviously, Bredesen, we all agree on. You've got Neal, Garrett McGinn, Will Holden. Where do you see any of those? Do you see not sticking around?
So I think.
Go ahead, Banker.
So the only guy you didn't mention, I don't know where they put him on the depth chart, but I think he's 100% going to make is Debra Hamilton.
I got him too.
I don't see him on the depth chart.
He's actually, apparently he didn't have. And I did watch yesterday's game, but I didn't notice when Hamilton was in there, to be honest with you. But just reading something this morning on it, apparently he didn't have like the best game yesterday. But the previous game or the previous two games, he actually performed very well. And he was actually, Debra Hamilton is a tackle, but they're playing him at guard too.
He plays almost every position on
Actually,
yeah.
Guys, excuse me. I mentioned him after Andrew Thomas.
Gotcha. Sorry.
No worries. You're good.
So I think we need to upgrade our swing tackle position, right? Who knows whatever's going to happen with Matt Pert. I mean,
it's hard.
But
swing tackle's hard.
To me, the surprise of camp in the offensive line is Debra Hamilton. I remember when he was signed and when they brought him in, you could throw him in there with these guys that were, I thought, afterthoughts. Holden, journeyman's been on other teams, Eric Smith. I see this kid staying, but then they could put him on the practice squad if they can improve with roster cuts from other teams, like you guys both just said. But this kid, I remember, what was it? In the second preseason game, Andrew Thomas.
Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, they threw this kid in from the beginning practically, and he was great.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the tight end position. Daniel Bellinger, Chris Myrick, Austin Allen, and Tanner Hudson. That's what's on the roster right now. Obviously, we all agree that Bellinger's going to be there and he's going to start. Hopefully the concussion isn't too serious and he plays. But then you've got the other three, Chris Myrick, Austin Allen, and Tanner Hudson. And Steve, I know you love Austin Allen. I know you like him.
Yeah, you saw my Twitter.
Yes, I did.
I will be disappointed if Austin Allen doesn't make it.
So out of the four, who do you think goes? Myrick or Tanner Hudson? Steve?
Me, myself? Go ahead,
Steve. Joe.
No,
right, I'll go.
No, I was
I'll
waiting.
go first. Oh, no worries. Obviously it's going to be Bellinger. I think Myrick. I always have a hard time with this last name. Chris Myrick. I think he's going to make it. He's got tight end, fullback flexibility there. And man, I'm with you, Banker. I really want Austin Allen. What is he, like 6'9"?
Yeah, he's huge.
Yeah, like that, and he's athletic. And he made a nice touchdown. He's performed well. He's received well. And I think he came out of Nebraska. And he wasn't really used all that often. Nebraska's in my opinion, dysfunctional offense anyway for the running game. But the guy's got really good hands. And he's like 6'9", and it's hard for other even good cornerbacks or safeties to match up against the guy just given his height and his length. It really counts for something, and he's shown that he's not Ingram, where he's not necessarily like juggling the ball all the time. He's got good soft hands. So I'd like to see him play. I'm not really interested in the other guy, the tight end. I'm forgetting the name right now. They just signed recently. He's more of a blocker, and I could see him.
Tanner Hudson.
I think he's.
I don't think he can block at all. I think that's his problem.
Okay, then good. Then he's gone. Then it's Austin Allen. Good.
Right.
No debate.
Right.
I thought he was a blocker. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
I think you might be thinking of the guy they just cut. They just cut a guy last week. Darn it. Now I forget his name.
It's all good. But I really want Austin Allen. I had my eye on him when they signed him as an undrafted free agent. I was excited when they got him. And just, man, his height and he's got good hands. And, man, I just want that. I want that. And I want the youth. I really do. So I'm just glad it's not Akins and Ricky Seals-Jones. Don't give me that Ricky Seals-Jones stuff. I don't. Adios. Yeah, gone. I don't want those. I don't want these proven veterans. That is, veterans proven to be completely subpar. I don't want it. So.
So quarterback, Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, Davis Webb. We all know that situation. That's been beaten to death. So I'm not even going to go there.
You don't want to hear what I thought about tight end? Okay, we'll move on.
Go ahead, Steve.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Steve.
I think Bellinger makes it. I think Austin Allen, hopefully, I think he makes it as our tight end 3. I think Chris Myrick will go to the practice squad if he's eligible.
Yes.
And I'll get back to that in a second because I don't know if he's eligible. And then Tanner Hudson is the automatic will make the team unless they find a tight end from roster cuts, which I actually think is highly likely. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a revolving door in the tight end room. And that's not a bad thing. I think this year is about upgrading talent and filling it up with these young kids. Let me just finish my thought about Chris Myrick and whether he can be on the practice squad or not. So for everybody listening, there's 3 qualifications for practice squad eligible. I will admit I did not know this off the top of my head. I had to research it because I knew there would be some guys that'd be like, oh, they'll probably throw him on the practice squad. Not so fast. There's only 3 ways on the practice squad. A, you do not have a single accrued season in the NFL. So rookies or guys who never made a team, maybe they went to the CFL, whatever. Number 2, free agents who are in active regular season fewer than 9 games. So maybe a guy made a team. He could have been on a team for 3 seasons already, but he's only been active for less than 9 games during his accrued season or seasons. And thirdly, you can only have a maximum of 10 free agents who have earned 2 accrued seasons on your practice squad. So you can't just fill up your practice squad with young veterans. You have to get some kids who've never played. It has to be a mixture. I think Chris Myrick may have filled that already. I didn't look at his stats, but I think he's played more than 9 games in the last couple of years since he's been on the roster. They've cut him, they've signed him back, but he's been active quite a few times. I don't know if he's eligible for practice squad. He may be, but I'm not. He's one of those guys, like, I don't know. But I'm not worried because I think they could find a player as good or better than him with cuts. So
yeah. My focus is definitely Bellinger, who's obviously making it, and then in Austin Allen. Those are the 2 that I care about. The other ones, whether it's Myrick or the other guy or anyone else who they're maybe have their eyes on the waiver wire. I think for me, anyone else is debatable. But I do want Allen on there.
The only thing I'll catch a touchdown pass last season.
Who's that?
Myrick. I thought he caught a touchdown pass last season.
He did. It was to win the game. Who? Right? Shoot.
I don't remember which game it was, but he did catch a touchdown pass.
Was it Washington? It was that play in the end zone.
That's what I thought it was, Steve. Was Washington. That was
it was a broken play, and yeah.
Wasn't there a rollout or something, and he caught and they threw it to him in the end zone, right?
Yes, 100%. I'm just trying to remember the exact details, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go to running backs quickly. Saquon Barkley, Matt Breida, Antonio Williams, Gary Brightwell, Joshua Corbin, and then Sandro Platzgummer. So I'm going to start on this one. I've been saying it for a while now. I think Matt Breida's in a lot of trouble. I think 1 carry maybe that I can recall the entire preseason. And yeah, all right, he's a veteran and he's fast. But you know what? The rest of the guys have actually shown very well. Williams, Brightwell, and even Corbin. They've all shown very well. So I actually think Breida is the odd man out here. So I would say it's going to be Barkley, Antonio Williams, Brightwell, Corbin, and then I guess Platzgummer. What do we say there? Practice squad or cut? But I don't think he's going to be on this roster.
Well, he's not. I'm not ready to go yet. So Joe, if you want to go, but the one thing about only because I think we've been confused. Platzgummer was what's called the international exception.
Right.
But I don't know if that's expired with him. Like, I don't know how many years you can keep a guy on the team under that exception. I'll admit I didn't research that.
Right. And this is year 2 for him now, correct?
At least 2.
At least.
Yeah.
2 or 3.
Right. Yeah. Right. At least 2.
Right.
I gotta say though, and listen, I don't think Sandro's making the team. Anytime he's been on the field, like preseason games, he's actually kind of showed up and it kind of been a little exciting, been like a little spark plug, it seems like. But I'm not really buying into it. But he seems like a nice guy, and he's, like I said, preseason, he's kind of like he's been a little bit of a spark plug. But, Fly Guy, I'm kind of with you. I'm not necessarily, I think Breida, and I don't think it's going to happen. I wouldn't bet on it, but I wouldn't be shocked if he's a surprise cut tomorrow. I've never really been a big fan of the guy anyway, to be honest. Yeah, I think he's talented and he can be dangerous, but the dude is never on the field. This guy's never healthy. And we have too much of that as it is. And you know what? The thing is that if he is on the field, yeah, you could do some pretty cool things. Him and Barkley coming out of the backfield at the same time could be pretty interesting. They could both go out for receptions. It'd be pretty cool to see. But I think Antonio Williams, he was one of the first free agents they signed in the Joe Shane regime. I know they were very high on him, and they signed him up. I think the Buffalo Bills practice squad. Jashawn Corbin was actually one of the most highly sought after undrafted free agents this year, a running back. And people could say, "Oh yeah, undrafted free agent." The thing is that this past draft class, the past two have been extremely deep, and the way that teams value or devalue running back now, it's not a surprise that you actually have a lot of talented running backs falling into undrafted free agency anymore. Corbin was a lot of people who were a lot more knowledgeable than I am. I think I know my college football pretty well. A lot of people had their eye on this guy as someone who a good potential undrafted free agency target. I like the way he performed. Brightwell, he brings some special teams. He's known to be a good special teams player. That's why Judge drafted him last year, and that was a Judge draft pick. That's why I drafted him last year. But I think he also showed as a running back some decent stuff too. And me myself, I'm tired of these guys like Breida that you just can't count on, to be on the field and to make it on the field. And that's the history of his career, to be honest with you. Steve? So I do have Barkley. I can't bet against Breida, so I do have on my list Barkley, Breida, Williams, and Brightwell. But man, I kind of want it to be Corbin over Breida.
Steve?
I see Breida gone. Saves $1 million. You guys know we only have $300,000 in cap space right now. I mean, they're going to probably restructure Leo a little bit, restructure some of his salaries bonus. There's room to play around and get creative, but I know they probably don't want to if they don't have to. We need money just to sign guys just because of all their injuries we have. Listen, this kid, his number one knock has been he can't stay healthy. So what's happened preseason? He's not healthy. Right. Yes, they signed him, but they also signed Antonio Williams from Buffalo. He's not the only guy they signed. It's not like they're loyal just to him. Look, you got the best ability is availability. We've heard that 1,000 times in Giants land. Obviously, Saquon's our number one. To me, if you had asked me coming into the season which of our last year's draft picks I thought would have gotten cut, I would have thought Brightwell. Yes. I've just been blown away by him in the summer camp and preseason. I mean, I said it on Twitter a couple weeks ago after one of the games, and somebody kind of made fun of me. They're like, "Oh, easy with the word beast." I'm like, for Brightwell, he was.
I saw that.
Beast. I mean, between the number one complaint on Saquon, other than, and I know he's not happy about it. It's not my problem. Other than his blocking, which has been terrible. Hopefully, he improves his blocking. Is his running between the tackles. I mean, he's manna from heaven outside the tackle, out in the flat, wheel route, throwing the ball. But just, man, take what the defense gives you. He hasn't had many holes to run behind, but when there is a teeny little bit, I mean, we've seen other running backs. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is Gary Brightwell, man, you give him just a little bit, and that guy, he doesn't hesitate. He maybe one move, and then boom, he's gone. He gets extra yardage after the contact. Antonio Williams had a rough game. He had that fumble. Maybe it's because he's been a little banged up during the summer as well, but he knows he's fighting for a spot. My concern with Corbin is, listen, the kid was great. I think it was at Florida State, right?
Yes.
Yes. He had that great play on that wheel route, converted that fourth down. You could see why everybody wanted this kid, and he's going to be perfect in this offense. My only concern is if he's taking a roster spot, and guys, I don't know if you know the answer to this, because I still stick with what I'm saying. I could see Breida being cut. Does Corbin play special teams? And he's pretty small. I don't know what type of blocker he is. So if he's not in there, especially on a third down, how much is he going to play? And how much does that limit you in terms of your pass coverage, If he's not playing special teams, I don't know the answer about that, if he plays specials or not.
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
don't
seen him
know.
on specials. I have not seen him back there on specials.
Right? So,
Punts or kicks, actually, either one. I don't recall.
that was my only hesitation, Joe, with cutting Breida and keeping Corbin. Is I think to me, Corbin is a younger Breida. The kid's like crazy fast. He's great out of the backfield. I just don't know if he's a professional yet in terms of those other two aspects. So.
Yeah, that I don't know myself. I'm looking to shed guys that are just injury prone, and like you said before, here we go again, preseason, Matt Breida, injury prone.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, this is a new GM that we're not really familiar with. So in terms of line of thinking, so it'll be interesting to see. But me myself, I'm thinking, man, shed these guys who just can't stay healthy when you can.
Yeah.
So Corbin does, according to what you just read, Steve, he can be practice squad eligible if they keep Breida.
I know.
So the question is then, do you keep Breida because you're worried about Saquon going down with an injury? Is that why you keep him?
Breida is going to be injured anyway.
Well, but the point is, if he goes down, I mean, Brightwell and Antonio Williams have shown that they can move the ball. So that's going to be a tough call. It's going to be a very tough call.
They put Corbin on that practice squad. Somebody's going to scoop him up.
I was going to say Baltimore, the 49ers will wind up taking him. Their running backs they're always getting injured, and they always have a new one ready to go. And those are great running offenses. And so Corbin will be a Baltimore Raven before you know it.
Quincy Roche last year, same thing. Pittsburgh didn't want to lose him. All right. So speaking of defense, let's go to the defense.
Let's do it.
Let's go to the defensive line, the interior. Leonard Williams, Jalen Holmes, Ryder Anderson, Justin Ellis, DJ Davidson, Dexter Lawrence, Nick Williams, and David Moa. Go ahead, Steve.
5 guys kept. Leo and Sexy Dexy, we know that.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Ellis, look, he's not been amazing in the preseason, but he's a veteran. He's a big boy. They didn't sign him to play a ton in the preseason. He's Wink's boy from Baltimore. He's going to make the team. DJ Davidson, they've played him a ton. He was one of our draft picks. A kid out of Arizona, I think it was Arizona.
Yes.
He's not going anywhere. They've played him into the ground in the preseason to see if he holds up, and the kid's held up, and he hasn't gotten hurt. Again, tough, smart, dependable. That's what he likes. The guy's available and he plays. And my favorite to make the roster in the front 7 is this undrafted free agent. I've fallen in love with this kid. He's active. He's athletic. He's huge, but he's an athlete. Ryder Anderson. This kid's a monster. What is he, 6'6", 285?
Yeah, I think you're right.
On his shoulder because he has family in the NFL, and he kind of bounced around in college. And to me, this kid has flashed at times with what little opportunity they've given him. I think he's exactly the type of player that a Wink, if you look at his history and the staffs that he put together, he likes to develop these young kids with all the physical tools, but are showing the work ethic. My concern about cutting him and putting him on the practice squad is I think he's another kid that he'd get gobbled up in a minute, I think, because of what he's put on tape. So I see 5 guys, and those are my 5.
I agree with you there, Steve. And I went back and forth on this group a lot today. And I was trying so hard to convince myself that Jalen Holmes was going to stick. I tried. I was reading stats and because I really thought that he was going to be a nice piece here, but I agree with you.
Not to interrupt, but I think Jalen Holmes left with a concussion yesterday, I think.
Did he really? I don't recall. But my point is, just Ryder Anderson has just impressed every time he's had a chance to show. And you just keep hearing his name. You just keep seeing the jersey. Guys like that that are around the ball, I'll take my shot. I'll roll the dice with that. So I'm completely in agreement with you there, Steve. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I actually have, and he was probably the most difficult name for me. I actually wound up keeping him off the list. But that's a 49%, 51%. For me, it was 51-49. it was probably the hardest decision I had to make. And I would not be shocked at all if he's on this team. You have heard his name a lot this preseason, and I am excited about him. He's a big dude. And what I've got for the interior, the defensive / nose tackles, I have 4 guys right now, and that's thin. But I've got Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence, the obvious 2. I also have Justin Ellis and DJ Davidson. I do think that Ryder probably is going to make the team. I just don't know where I'm taking away from yet, given the needs of the other position groups as well. But I think Ryder is probably going to make the team. DJ Davidson, I've actually been happy with him too. When he was drafted, I think 5th round, maybe 6th round this year, I was just kind of like, he wasn't like someone I was really familiar with, to be honest with you. But I was reading up on him, watched some game tape on him, on the guy, and analysis from other people more knowledgeable than me. I'm like, whatever, maybe like a run stop or something like that, kind of like a young version of Danny Shelton, that we had last year. I'm like, whatever, dime a dozen. I think the guy's played pretty darn quick. He's he's a lot faster than I thought he would be. I'm actually excited by Davidson. Not that I think he's going to be like Dalvin Tomlinson, but he plays with good speed for a big guy. I was pretty surprised by how well he was shooting, quickly he was shooting gaps. I was very, very impressed with the guy. So, yeah, so I've got Williams, Dexter Lawrence, that is Justin Ellis, and DJ Davidson.
Okay, let's go linebacker. There's 13 linebackers on the roster right now. This is going to be fun.
It's going to be juicy.
Yeah, Steve, you're licking your chops already. So the linebackers on the roster right now are obviously Thibodeau, Jihad Ward, Jimenez, Tomon Fox, Blake Martinez, Mika McFadden, Carter Coughlin, Tay Crowder, Cam Brown, Austin Calitro, Ojulari, Ellerson Smith, and Quincy Roche. Steve, I started with you last time, so I'm going to let Joe go first. I know you're salivating, but I'm sorry.
No,
I'm trying to be fair here.
100%.
Okay, so this is how I have it broken down. This is tough, this man, Calitro. He's put on quite a preseason, but he's been around for a little while too. And, I don't want to too much buy into the hype of you've got a lot of preseason warriors out there that happen, even on the Giants. Seems like every year. All right, this is how I have it broken down by edge, middle linebacker, and the will.
Right.
For edge, I've got Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari. Those are obvious. I've got Quincy Roche, even though it scares me that they haven't been playing him this summer in preseason all that often. It scares me. It seems like he's further down in the depth chart he should be. But so I've got Thibodeau, Ojulari, Quincy Roche, and I've got Ellerson Smith. I'm not a fan of what's his name? The guy with the X in his name.
O'Shane
Zimenez. Yeah, O'Shane Zimenez. I think he was always more of a 4-3 guy anyway. But then again, and he's actually been shown to be higher up in the depth chart than Quincy Roche. And
Correct.
I think me and many other people are like, what's going on here? But then again, you know what? We've got a new defensive coordinator, and I don't know what Wink is necessarily bringing to the table, except that he's going to be throwing the kitchen sink, apparently. So maybe he's got his own plans for the X-Man there for Zimenez. I'm not sure, but I've been shocked to see him on pretty high up in the depth chart, but I'm not putting him on there. So I've got Thibodeau, Ojulari, Roche, Smith. At MLB, I've got Blake Martinez, McFadden, and Coughlin. And then I've got, at the will, I've got Tay Crowder and Cam Brown.
Go ahead, Steve. Have at it.
So I'm just dividing the room into half. One side of the room is my outside linebacker / edge, right? And the other side, I'll just call him middle linebacker, inside linebacker, whatever you want to call him,
Sure.
My edge room is Kayvon and Azeez. Obviously, those are your starters when healthy. Jihad Ward, Ellerson Smith, when healthy. I mean, he's making it. And Tomon Fox has been awesome. He's been brilliant. He's going to make the practice squad. Okay. I think they're going to cut him, but keep him. They're going to get a contract ready before they cut him. They're going to say, listen, don't you go anywhere. When somebody gets hurt, God forbid, he's going to be the first man off that practice squad.
Yes, he is.
He's a kid they're going to develop. O'Shane versus Quincy has been one of the hardest things for me to swallow this preseason. But if there's one thing I've learned in the NFL is believe what you see. And what we've seen is they've been playing O'Shane, they haven't been playing Quincy. And
Yes.
As fans, the word fan is short for fanatic, right? We could be fanatical all we want about Quincy and the splash plays we saw towards the end of last year, and he appears to play strong against the run. I can't stand O'Shane as a player. He's supposedly just the nicest man. He's a good human being, but he made so many mistakes. He had that one game last year that cost us the game. I mean, he makes so many mistakes.
Washington.
Thank you. So here I am talking about smart, tough, dependable, smart, tough, dependable, smart. And it's a clean slate with these guys. I like how Dable and Shane said that when they came in. But I don't know, man. Maybe they just fell in love with him, when they scouted him from Buffalo from far away as a rookie. And now they have a chance to actually coach the kid. And they're like, we still like what we see. He's a physical specimen, but I think they're going to keep O'Shane, not because I want them to, but because that's what they've shown us. The other half of the room, Blake and Tay. I think if Beavers was healthy, he would have overtaken Tay Crowder. To me, the backups are Micah McFadden, Austin Calitro. As I just said, the tape doesn't lie. Calitro was a man-child in the last game, and he's actually been playing well even before that in the preseason. That's why we saw him so much in the last game. They gave him more and more playing time, not just because Beavers was hurt, but because he earned it.
He earned it. Very good, Steve.
And listen, some guys are journeymen, and it just takes them to be in the right place at the right time, the right offseason with the right coaching staff, and they pop.
Right system.
Yeah. And then lastly, Cam Brown is our best special teams player. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's
Carter
very good.
Carter Coughlin's getting cut, guys.
Yeah, agreed. And
I wouldn't be shocked. I have him there just because really I wasn't expecting to put on my list originally, but with Coughlin, I noticed that they've been playing in middle linebacker or inside linebacker a lot, surprisingly. And given that he's actually more of a small, undersized edge pass rusher, but I figured, hey, listen, if they've been playing him at inside linebacker, it gives them flexibility again, where they can also swing him to the outside, bring some, and he does have some really good speed. But I'm not strong on Coughlin, necessarily making it, but I figured there was some flexibility there. The same thing with Cam Brown, that is weak inside linebacker, but his real strength is special teams, and he's very good at it.
So on my outside, I have the same argument as you guys do. Is it going to be O'Shane Zimenez, or is it going to be Quincy Roche? And you know what I noticed this offseason or this preseason that kind of tilted me towards O'Shane Zimenez is he's been playing special teams. And he's actually come up with a couple tackles on special teams. So the same thing as we say about Cam Brown, he's a good special teams player, he's going to stick. If O'Shane Zimenez can play special teams and contribute, and Quincy Roche is not, well, that's going to be a deciding factor. So
you make a very good point, Carl. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So thank you. So that's why, as much as I like Quincy Roche, I loved him last year, just like everybody else. I was very surprised, haven't seen or heard much about him this preseason. I think he's gone. And in the middle, yeah, I agree. I think Carter Coughlin's gone. I mean, Austin Calitro, what a feel-good story. And, to be honest with you, if Beavers didn't get hurt, we may be sitting here saying, Tay Crowder may not be seeing the light of day tomorrow. So, unfortunately, Beavers is hurt and Crowder's going to play. But I really thought that Beavers was going to start, from what we saw and everything we heard. But yeah, the big battle here is either Roche or Zimenez, and I think it's going to be Zimenez again. Like I said, special teams.
Carl, let me ask you a question then. And Joe, please, after Carl answers, I'm curious what you think. Let's say that it plays out that way and Quincy Roche is cut. He's eligible for the practice squad based upon my research. I mean, it could be wrong, but from what I've seen, because he was a rookie last year, we wanted him out of Miami. He went to Pittsburgh. He didn't play more than 9 games last year, I don't think, right? I don't think he was active.
They got him.
I don't remember.
Was he active? I know he was active.
I thought they got him early.
It took him a couple games to get up to speed. He was active more later in the season. I don't know exactly how many games he played.
So does he accept that is also the unknown, because if they cut him and they offer the practice squad, he doesn't have to sign it. He could say, no, I'll take my chances in the open market. How do you think that would play out?
But it depends, because then it comes down to, well, all right, you can either take our practice squad or you make it signed by a team and put on their practice squad.
Yeah.
So then the question is, that's a very interesting question, Steve. But the question then in my head, that the decision he would have to make was, how much do I like this system? And where do I think this organization is going? And do I think that I can work my way back into this rotation?
That's right.
So, I can't answer those questions for him. I would hope that if they offer to him, he stays, because I still think he's got talent and he's a good player.
Yeah.
But that's a tough decision. I can't make that decision for him.
What do you think, Joe?
I'll say this. Yeah, I'm unsure. I mean, I don't know. He might be, willing to take the practice squad spot because, listen, the Giants, he had almost a full year with the Giants last year. He might have some loyal to the organization. A lot of players who come to play for the Giants like the organization. I do think he's going to be a somewhat wanted commodity. I mean, I don't want to. We all like Quincy, but I also don't want to, pump him up too much and make him out to be better than he is. But I think he flashed pretty well for a guy who was, a rookie last year. He was pretty solid, and I think there's definitely value there. Yeah. So in that situation, I don't know. I just don't want it to come to that. I really want to keep him on the team, but I'll say this too. Like, I think most Giants fans, I think the three of us included, but I think most Giants fans out there are like befuddled with, the Quincy Roche and Zimenez debate that's going on in the field there. And I'll say this, like, listen, fanatics, we're certainly not always right, but when you get a lot of people thinking the same way, I think, and I've seen this in the past, I think oftentimes we tend to be right. Like, when we're like, as a group, when you get a lot of people who've been watching football for a long time, and many of us are scratching our head, don't discount that we're necessarily wrong. There is like knowledge there, accumulated knowledge that I've seen it too many times. GM moves, head coaching moves, where we'll be like, hey, what are you doing? And it turns out we were right, and the head coach or the GM was wrong. So
makes sense.
So let's go to cornerback now. Let's get to the real meat and potatoes of this whole situation here. So cornerbacks are Adoree Jackson, Darren Evans, Harrison Hand, Aaron Robinson, Darius Williams, and Zion Gilbert. And then you can also throw in the nickelbacks. You've got Darnay Holmes, Cordell Flott, and Khalil Dorsey. So, Steve, why don't you start this one?
Did you also say Elijah Griffin or no?
No, I did not. He was released today, I thought.
Was he?
I believe so.
Wait, so who are the corners that were released today? Just to recap that, I'm sorry.
Corners that were released today. Elijah Griffin was released today.
Was he the only one?
Yes.
All right, well.
And Corker, the safety, was also released.
That's right. Yeah, Yusuf Corker. So I think we're keeping 5 corners. I see Adoree, Aaron Robinson, Darnay, Cordell. I see Zion Gilbert and Darren Evans going to the practice squad. I'm missing a 5th, right? I think our 5th corner is not on the team.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I agree.
Interesting.
And that's not a cop-out. I honestly think it's Adoree and Aaron. Darnay is your slot. Cordell is your flex guy. He's probably a slot for now if he plays at all, but he's going to learn because he's tall and lanky, and he did play outs on the outside a little bit in college. He played all over the place last year for LSU. We saw his mess up in the game, Carl, right? He didn't play the angle right. He got beat bad. I mean, listen, he got beat by an all-pro. I mean, granted, all-pro special teamer, but the guy's a hell of a young wide receiver too. But that was a terrible play on his part. He'll learn. I like these young kids. I think they like them. I think they're 6'1", 182 out of FAU down here in Boca, baby.
Sure.
Gilbert
Evans, 6'3", 174, a rookie out of LSU. They like these LSU kids.
They do.
Our team has a long history with LSU corners. So, listen, I think those 2 young kids are probably going to go to the practice squad, or they'll put them on the roster, and then literally like 2 days later, sign somebody who was cut elsewhere, and they'll go to the practice squad. So I think our fifth corner's not on the team yet.
Joe?
I agree 100%. That is definitely our fifth corner, or I think there's even going to be. I wouldn't be shocked if we get a starting caliber outside corner for this team. Let's say starting caliber, not like all pro or anything. I wouldn't be surprised if the outside corner playing opposite of Adoree Jackson is actually winds up being either they trade for him or they wind up getting him on waivers. So I do think there are going to be some decent players that are cut because of salary cap issues. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, listen, I'm probably wrong about that. I just wouldn't be shocked. Aaron Robinson probably will be the outside corner opposite of Adoree. But I do think there's going to be, that's got to be the number one position they've got their eyes on for the waiver wire. It has to be. But what I've got 6 corners, including that's four cornerbacks and 2 nickels. I've got Adoree Jackson, Aaron Robinson. I've got Rodarius Williams, though, and I've got Darren Evans. I wouldn't be surprised if Gilbert makes it over Rodarius Williams, but then again, I do think there's going to be a guy right behind Jackson and Robinson who they're going to rely upon a lot, who they're going to get through waivers. And then you've got Darnay Holmes and Flott. Flott is very raw. He's going to need at least a full year to develop. The guy's got a lot of potential, but he's going to need a full year to develop. So I've got Darnay and Flott for the nickel, and basically on the outside, I've got Jackson, Robinson, Rodarius Williams, and I'm probably wrong about that, and Darren Evans. But Darren Evans will probably be replaced for Rodarius Williams.
And I'm sorry, I got to say it again. I made a big deal about it on Twitter, but Cordell Flott on that one tackle where he put his head down and just threw himself into the ball carrier instead of keeping his head up, wrapping his arms and driving through him, just really turned me off yesterday. And I'll give you potential, and I really hope I'm wrong on him, but boy, oh boy, that really put a real sour taste in my mouth about him. And, here's, Steve and I were talking before the show, and I mentioned my concerns about Aaron Robinson. And I know everybody's got him penciled in as a starter, but, Aaron Robinson was playing later into the game yesterday, not with the starters. And I just wonder, look, I know it's a reach to say he's not going to be on this roster, but, is there confidence in him waning? And, he has not had a good summer at all.
Aaron Robinson?
Yes. All 3 games he's been exposed. So, I don't know. It's tough. I agree with you. I think there's going to be someone back there that's not on this roster right now. I think our future's bright. I like Hand a lot. I like Evans a real lot. Zion Gilbert, I think, is an up-and-comer. Rodarius Williams, serviceable. Does he go the full year? We'll see. Freaking Cordell Flott really pissed me off yesterday, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was never crazy. Listen, many of us weren't crazy about the draft pick, to be honest with you. I do see talent there with Flott, potential, I should say. I do see Flott, but you know what, Aaron Robinson, though, just what you were saying, Flagata, this is something that worries me about, that really kind of pisses me off about the situation we're in, is that Aaron Robinson was drafted last year to be a physical slot corner, and he was very successful in college. That's what the guy is supposed to be, and a guy you could possibly flex to the outside if you need to, or your play design, your defensive design on a certain amount of plays. He was in college as a very good physical slot corner. That's what he's supposed to be. That's what he's drafted to be. And this is one thing that worried me, is that I don't know if maybe the guy will eventually succeed. Maybe over the course of the year, if they stick with him, he succeeds. There's a good chance too that he doesn't. And I'm worried that, his reputation or, his career might be hindered by what I think is a really bad decision to roll into the season with no one opposite aside Adoree Jackson. And that's why I really was not happy about the Bradbury cut to begin with. I was thinking, dude, find a way to keep this guy for another year. I don't care if you ever extend Leo or whoever else. I don't care. Or get yourself another, maybe not as good as Bradbury, but get another experienced cornerback out there. don't put all this expectation on Aaron Robinson when he didn't even play outside corner in college. That annoyed me. So
but you raise a question in my head, John. I'm going to put it out to both of you. So Aaron Robinson, physical player in college, right? We did not see. Let's keep in mind that this entire preseason, Wink kind of kept it very vanilla. So we did not see a lot of the scheming in the game plan. Is it possible that Aaron Robinson, with his physicality, can be the guy that they move around and he blitzes a lot? And maybe they're just kind of hiding that right now. You know the way Wink is. You know what he likes to blitz. He likes to disguise and move things around. Does Aaron Robinson possibly have a role that we just haven't seen yet?
I think it's very possible. Listen, we're not really familiar with Wink, unless someone lives unless is a Giants fan watching, who's a Ravens fan. I mean, Ravens are kind of like one of my backup teams because it's the type of brand of football that I love. It's physical, defensive, run game oriented, physical. And he's been the DC at Baltimore for 10 years. But I'm not familiar really with what he does, so I don't know. I mean, hopefully he's got these exotic schemes because they're kind of going to need him, so hopefully he's got these exotic schemes dialed up. But Aaron Robinson, I like his skill talent. I just don't want to see him be pegged as like this guy who wasn't, didn't live up to billing when, geez, it's like you're asking, okay, a guy who played guard in college his entire career, hey, you know what? Because we had to cut our offensive tackle. Guess what? You're going to play offensive tackle. And then we're going to, just judge the guy on, not being able to play offensive tackle, even though he never really played it before. So, but I think Aaron Robinson, I do like his skill talent, his skill set, I should say. And I'm not counting him out. I just don't like the position and the expectations that have been put on him.
Steve, what do you think quickly about that? Because I know we got to move along, but what do you think?
Look, I'm not trying to be that guy, but I think it's not just you two guys. I think it's most fans in general, and I've been guilty of it as well. There are no corners that come into the NFL and start their rookie year and like, oh my God, they're awesome. Guess what? They're all top 10 or top 15 picks. That's it. There is no such thing as a corner coming into the NFL. Oh my God, he's great. He's great. He's a starter and he's our number 2. It doesn't happen. Corner is perhaps the most difficult position to transition from college to the pros. So when I hear people like, we need a James Bradberry took freaking 4 years to become James Bradberry. James Bradberry didn't get plucked out of the NFL draft and, oh my God, he's great. James Bradberry took a while. So Wink talked about it. Shane talked about it. Daboll talked about it. The only way they're going to get better is to play. So my personal opinion is I think Robinson's done very well for the stage that he's at. Actually, he was exposed twice in the second preseason game. He actually won the second time, but he had a silly foul that I think we would all agree probably shouldn't have been called a foul, but it's the new NFL. Oh, don't, you can't celebrate a great defensive play in the end zone, which is ridiculous. So, and he wasn't taunting, it was BS, but unfortunately that's how they called it. And he needs to be smarter than that. I think he's okay. I think we need to see, like a lot of our young players, do they get better as the season goes by? That's the idea with this coaching staff. Carl, you've said it 1,000 times, and I've agreed with you each and every time. This is a rebuilding year. What does that mean? I said it 10 podcasts ago. One of the 4 things I want to see this season, guys, I want to see us identify young talent and develop them. Our prior coaching staffs the last 3 coaching staffs have not done that. They haven't left us better off than when they found us. Develop young players. Let's give this kid a chance. Let's give him a chance. Yeah. He was a 3rd round pick. We were excited when they drafted him. Mm-hmm. And if Darnay Holmes had been sucking it, he probably would have supplanted Darnay. But Darnay's been playing great.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Yeah. So it's about getting your best players on the field. And if those 2 kids are 2 of our 4 best corners, then I'm okay with them being on the field.
Let's quickly, safeties. Julian Love, Dane Belton, McKinney, of course, Trenton Thompson, and Nate Metters. Steve?
I got 4 safeties: Xavier McKinney, Julian Love, Dane Belton, because he's only going to be out 4 games,
Yeah.
and Trenton Thompson.
Yeah.
I think Nate Meadows is a journeyman, and he's going to be cut.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I've been so impressed with Trenton Thompson. And he, he's another one. You see him every time the ball is downfield. He's there and he hits. Yeah. And I think quite honestly, his play is why Adams was released. Andrew Adams was released. You know what? Yeah. Why not? You're in a rebuild, play the kid. Like you said, Steve, to your point. Well, that too, of course, but play the kids. Let's see what we got back here, develop the youth. So I think, and I was surprised Andrew Adams was cut, but then thinking about it and then seeing Thompson yesterday against the Jets made perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
And can I just say one thing, Joe, before it goes over to you? I think people aren't, not just us personally, but when I see on Twitter and I see articles, and maybe I'm giving them way too much credit, but let's remember how excited we were when this staff was hired and filled out, even the Mike Kafkas of the world, our offensive line coach I mentioned earlier. The reason to be excited about a great staff is not just because of the schemes that they put in and their management of the game, so there's no stupid decisions in game and all that, and preparate, but it's developing these kids, right? Like getting guys, like we talked about that linebacker, Calitro. He didn't just come in and all of a sudden, it all clicked for him. He's probably getting really great coaching too. Let's be excited about this coaching staff who's hopefully going to develop some of these young kids in a way that we haven't seen as Giant fans in a number of years, I think.
Agreed.
Sorry, Joe.
Oh, no. I'm so excited about the coaching staff. I agree with everything you just said, Steve. And just real quick, before I go to the safeties, Aaron Robinson, I don't want anyone to walk away with the impression that I'm down on Aaron Robinson. I actually liked the draft pick. I like the guy's talent. I'm just concerned that it's going to, he can develop to being an outside, a boundary cornerback. He can. I think he's got the talent and the skill set to be able to do it. But I also think there's a reasonable chance that he may not, just be given that he's played slot pretty much all this time in his career in college. And he looked so good in college as a slot corner. I was so looking forward to having Bradbury and Adoree Jackson and then Aaron Robinson, shutting down the slot, and he's a good physical. But believe me, I'm not down on Robinson. I'm worried about the position he's been put in.
If you want to be angry, don't be angry at anyone who's running this team. Be angry at David Gettleman, who put us in a position in the first place with the salary cap. And that's why you can thank him for James Bradbury not being here.
Yeah, no, you're right. But real quick, I'll do the safeties. I know for my picks. You're probably right. It's probably 4 guys. I think I did originally have 5. I had Yusuf Porker in there. And he's gone. Not the biggest surprise. I wasn't even sure if I was going to put him on the list, but so I'll just stick with 4. I got the same: Julian Love, who I love, Dane Belton, who I'm very excited about too, Xavier McKinney. How can you not love Xavier? And Trent Thompson. This could be actually wind up being a really darn good young group of safeties.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Something to look forward to.
All right, we're up against it, guys, but let's quickly. So it's become a little tradition here that we go through the schedule with our guest every week. So Joe, without further ado, I'll read you the week, I'll read you the opponent, and you give us your prediction. We got to kind of keep it quick here, Joe. So
gotcha. Yep.
Well, a lot of hindsight, but we got to kind of limit the commentary here, if you don't mind. All right. Week 1 at Tennessee.
I'm going to put it down as a loss, but also just put an asterisk next to it. I think it's one of those games where I wouldn't be shocked if we had an upset. And I don't feel that about every single game. There's something about this game. I wouldn't be shocked if we won, but I'm going to play it smart, and I'm going to go with loss.
Week 2 home opener against Carolina.
Win.
Week 3 Monday night at home, Dallas.
Win.
Week 4 home, Chicago.
We have 3 home games in a row?
Yeah.
Wow. Win.
Week 5 in London against Green Bay.
Loss.
Week 6. All right, here you go. You're going to be torn this week. You're going to have fits. Week 6 home against Baltimore. Well, you're going to be out of your mind.
No, loss. Lo-
Ooh.
What did you say? Win or loss?
Oh, loss for Baltimore. I
Okay.
can't see us handling that team.
Week 7 at Jacksonville.
Win.
Week 8 at Seattle.
Win.
Who's not going to have Jimmy G, by the way. Week 9 is the bye. Week 10, coming off the bye, home versus Houston.
Win.
Joe's got the big boy pants on tonight. Week 11, home versus Detroit.
Win.
Oh.
No, listen. I've seen every single episode. I'm fully prepared. I've been fully prepared.
Yeah, well, whatever you're drinking, save some for us, buddy. Week 12, Thanksgiving Day at Dallas.
Loss. I think we're actually going to wind up going 3-3 in the division, and whether it's at home or on the road, no, it doesn't really matter to me. But I do think we're going to wind up splitting.
Jumping ahead,
3-3
Joe.
in the division. Yep.
No jumping ahead. Our show, our rules. No jumping ahead. Week 13, week 13, home versus Washington.
Home. I'll go with win.
Week 14 home versus Philadelphia.
Man, we've had a lot of home games. I'll go with the win.
Week 15 at Washington.
I'll go with loss.
Week 16, Christmas Eve at Minnesota.
I'm going to go lost. I'm putting an asterisk as another one I wouldn't be surprised if we actually won.
I think we're going to get killed.
I can see
slaughtered in Minnesota.
That's your
I don't know.
3 game right there.
That's not the final game, is it?
No.
Okay.
Well, that's not too pretty either. Week 16, New Year's Day, home for Indianapolis.
Home for Indianapolis. All right, so I'll do that as a loss. I'm also putting an asterisk next to that game as well.
He likes these little asterisks.
I know that.
It's a loss.
The covers,
It's a loss.
You know what, just in case.
You know?
Caveat emptor.
Yeah. I'm saying loss. I'm saying loss.
Final game, week 18 at Philadelphia.
I'll go with loss.
All right. Steve, what do you have?
9 wins.
Yep. 9 and 8.
And a few asterisks.
And a few asterisks.
Right. No, you got 9 and 8 and about 5 asterisks, actually.
He's going 14 and no.
Here's that Minnesota game. I can actually see
us getting slaughtered. I know.
Yeah, no, you know what? Listen, there's so much, and I reserve the right to make some, corrections after week 4.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get a feel for the team, especially for the defense.
Oh, I thought you were going to say after game 4, all these kids are coming back off the pup list,
Mm-hmm.
You know what? No, it's that I want to see. I can see Wink, if it's a Wink D and they're actually getting pressure against the quarterback, I can see making it very, very hard for Kirk Cousins. And Dalvin Cook is tough to contain, but I think he can make life potentially very difficult for Kirk Cousins. But I would bet that if I had to bet, it would be a loss in Minnesota against Minnesota. So I've got 9 wins, huh?
9 and 8.
I didn't even realize. All right. I do think we're going to go 500 in the division. I think the division's going to be a battle. I really do. Even Washington, I think, is going to be better than most people are giving them credit for, kind of like an afterthought. And I don't think I think Philadelphia's got really good potential, really good talent, but I'm not, a lot of people have them like kind of like running away with the division. I don't really see it. I don't see them running away with the division. Not that they can't win it. And Dallas, I don't know. I think they might have taken some steps backwards. So.
If Jalen Hurts steps up this year, they're going to run away with this division.
That is a big difference maker.
If Jalen Hurts is average, then they'll stay within striking distance. But I still think they've got a supporting cast around him where they're going to win the division.
I think they should win the division.
Yeah.
I think they should win the division, especially I think Dallas took some steps backwards on the offensive side of the ball. I
Yes.
think Philadelphia should be favored. I just don't feel like it's written in stone that I kind of feel like many other people are kind of like, making it seem like. I just don't feel that way. So
Joe, a lot of fun tonight.
it's been a great time, guys. Long time coming, and I had a wonderful time.
Yeah, we were glad to finally get you on. Yeah. And Steve, great job as always.
Thank
A
you,
lot
guys.
of fun. Everybody, this show will be available tomorrow for both download and viewing. So please make sure you check it out. This was great tonight. Please keep supporting us. And guys, again, great job. Happy Labor Day weekend, guys. Have a safe and healthy one.
You as well.
Take care, all.
Guys, thank you so much.